If you've ever had that nagging, frustrating knee pain, you know it can just take over your life. But what if I told you that a lot of the common wisdom about how to treat it is kind of wrong? We're about to dig into a totally different way of thinking that gets to the real source of the problem, not just the part that's yelling at you. So let me start by asking a question that probably sounds a little weird. Is the pain you feel in your knee actually coming from your knee? I know, it seems obvious, right? The pain is there, so that must be the problem. But honestly, challenging that single idea is the key to unlocking real, lasting relief. All right, let's get into it and uncover the true culprit here. The core idea we're exploring is this. The knee that's screaming in pain is often just the messenger. It's the symptom of an imbalance happening somewhere else entirely. So our job is to play detective and find the real source. Okay, this is the absolute key concept. On one side, you've got the knee in pain. We think of it as the problem knee. It's overworked, it's complaining loudly, it's the one you notice. But often, the real problem is the other knee, or just a misalignment in the system. It's what you could call the shirker. It's silent, it's not carrying its fair share of the load, and that forces your good knee to do double the work until it just can't take it anymore and starts to hurt. So you see, we need to fix the shirker, not just try to quiet down the complainer.
And that brings us to the actual mechanical issue at play here, kneecap misalignment. Think about it. The parts of your kneecap are supposed to glide past each other like two smooth pieces of silk, but when your posture is out of balance, they start to grind and rub against each other. This isn't just random wear and tear from getting older. No, it's a specific structural problem, which means it's a problem we can actually fix.
So, how do we start fixing it? Well, the very first step, and you can't skip this, is to create space. Before we can even think about realigning anything, we have to gently decompress the joint. We need to give it a little room to breathe and reset itself. And here's a super simple but really powerful stretch you can do right at home. All you need is a firm chair and a stool. You're going to sit on the chair and place your heels up on the stool, which should be just a little bit higher than the chair seat. Now here's the important part. Take a belt or strap and bind your feet together. This keeps your knees pointing straight up to the ceiling. Then you just relax. Let gravity do the work. You'll feel it gently opening up that space right behind your knees. Okay, so we've created a little space. Now we can move on to step 2, lengthening those hamstrings. You know, chronically tight hamstrings are a massive contributor to knee pain. They're constantly pulling on the back of the knee joint, creating tension. Releasing that tension is our next critical move. And the doorway stretch is just fantastic for this. You'll stand with your back right up against one side of a door frame. Lift one leg and put the sole of your foot on the other side of the frame. Then you just carefully wriggle your standing leg back until your heel is also touching the frame. You're going to feel an intense stretch, but it's a good one. The goal is to slowly, over weeks, not days, work on moving that lifted foot just a little bit higher up the frame. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, strengthening your quads. So think about it. We've created space, we've lengthened the muscles on the back of the leg. Now we need to build up strength in the muscles on the front of the leg. These are the muscles that actively support and literally lift the kneecap up, fighting back against the constant pull of gravity. I love this analogy. When your quads are weak, your entire body's weight just collapses down onto the knee joint. It's like dropping a heavy sack of potatoes onto a weak table. But when your quads are strong, they act like your body's own personal anti-gravity system, lifting everything up and taking that crushing pressure off the joint. So the big question is, what's the best way to train these muscles to actually do their job and lift the kneecap? Well, you don't need a gym membership. You don't need any fancy equipment. In fact, all you really need is a chair. It's called the chair hover, and it's as simple as it sounds. Every single time you go to sit down in a chair, I want you to pause just an inch or two before your butt hits the seat, and just hover there for as long as you can. Even if it's just for a split second at first, that's perfect. Then do the same thing every time you stand up. The goal is to slowly extend that hover time and try to keep your chest up. This one move builds incredible functional strength in your quads. And hey, if you need a clever way to remember this exercise, the source material gives a pretty memorable and, let's be honest, a very relatable example of the exact muscle engagement we're talking about. As it says, most women have used this technique at various times when using an unclean Western toilet. It's funny because it's true, right? And it makes that movement absolutely unforgettable. Okay, so this is where the real magic happens.
It's when you stop thinking of these things as separate exercises you have to do, and you start weaving them right into the fabric of your everyday life. This is how you create lasting change. This is how you turn your daily actions into a form of therapy. So the takeaways here are so practical. When you're climbing stairs, try to only use the front half of your foot and let your heel drop down with each step. It's a great little mini stretch for your hamstring. Make that chair hover a non-negotiable habit every time you sit, every time you stand. When you're walking around barefoot at home, try lifting your toes off the floor. You'll feel your quads fire up immediately. And for a little extra help, even something as simple as snug-fitting cycling shorts under your clothes can give you a bit of feedback and help lift that kneecap. So we'll end with this thought. Yeah, your knee pain cries out and demands your attention, but it's almost never the real villain of the story. It's just the loudest voice in a system that's a little out of balance. By creating space, lengthening what's tight, and strengthening what's weak, you're not just treating the knee, you're healing the entire system. And that, right there, is a much more powerful path to relief.